Okay, so Daniel Guasca, I'm currently the chairman of Silicon Cape. The business I started was actually inspired by the launch of Silicon Cape back in 2009.
I'm from Media24, just looking at what's happening in the startup space. Amazing evening, such amazing innovation happening in the biotech medical space.
Hi, I'm Jay Sheila Rajput. I'm from Tomorrow Matters Now, and I'm a value chain specialist. As for today, I'm really looking forward to seeing the advances as far as biotech goes.
Hey, my name is Aidan Creel. I'm the R&D manager of the Stellenbosch nanofiber company. I learned there's a lot of cool tech coming out of the Cape, and we just need to grow it more.
My name's Max, and I'm a partner in Impact Amplifier. We're an accelerator that accelerates commercially viable social impact businesses in Africa.
My name's Andy Friedman. I'm the co-founder and managing director of a company called Mabenzi. We provide appropriate technology solutions to empower frontline health workers and inform key decision makers about what's happening on the ground to support large-scale m-health initiatives.
My name is Tato. I'm co-founder of Domesty. I'm the Chief Operating Officer. And the reason why I'm here is really just to network, understand a little bit more what's happening in the nanotech space, particularly in Cape Town, and hoping to have some fun,
Hi, I'm Leanne. I'm from Yellowtail Software. I'm here more in a private capacity, looking at biotech, looking at trying to get some ideas for myself and my medical student son to do together as an innovative project.
So we've really got some incredible companies presenting tonight. I'll take you through them just now. But maybe just a bit of background to Silicon Cape, what we do, and how we operate. So the initiative was started back in 2009 by two individuals, Justin Sanford and Vinnie Linham. I happened to attend the launch of that event back in, it was October 2009, almost 6-7 years ago, and was hugely inspired by what was happening within technology. And in fact, started a business which ended up selling to a US company. And so I guess just kind of a story around the inspiration that initiatives like this can create. I had no tech background as such, and I sort of saw what was going on, the kind of money that was being raised, and the success that was happening, and then created my own company. So I hope there'll be more stories like that. I know there are many more, but hopefully tonight will inspire some of you who are merely have heard about Nano or BioTech to actually go and create something good. So that's really what we try to do. What is our focus? Our focus on building a technology ecosystem within the Western Cape. It's supporting startups, angels, VCs, connecting government and big business, and of course attracting talent. And we do that via initiatives like Westgrow and other government organizations. We currently have just under 10,000 members, over 40,000 Twitter followers, and if you want the hashtag, it's right over there. So it's hashtag SC Tech Talks, if you haven't seen already. And about 2,500 Facebook followers. And we're completely reliant on you as a community. We're non-for-profit. None of us are paid by one permanent person who's engaged in the initiative. So we're hugely reliant on the community to make things happen. What are we doing as a committee? We've got a huge focus on redoing the website. I feel like I've said this every time we have an event, but there's an urgent need to do it, and it is in progress, and we hope to launch that early next year, because after all, that's really the mechanism through which we engage with the community. And having seen some of the mock-ups, it's looking pretty good. The second one is marketing, so looking for a new marketing committee member. So if anyone wishes to apply, I gather somebody's tweeted something there. If anyone has a marketing background and is looking to act on the committee, please feel free to apply. We've got a vacancy there. It isn't paid, obviously, just to elaborate. And we're also going to be putting out a tendering document that's open up to the entire community that essentially you can apply for services that we're going to offer to the community. So that's something which we'll launch over the next next couple of weeks. So feel free to engage with us if you're interested in that. We completed the Emerging Market Survey and Insights Survey with PwC. We currently have an EXCO member in San Francisco representing us for Tech in Women, doing a great job and bringing back some incredible insights, so which we'll obviously leverage within the community. We're working with the City of Cape Town, a big push in terms of raising awareness around tech in businesses. Large corporates coming to Cape Town, setting up shops, so there's been some encouraging movement in that regard. And we, of course, are typically the conduit for that, so we actually help these companies set up. We're looking for mentors to connect with within the community, so if anybody's willing to assist early stage startups, feel free to put your name forward again. And our next event's going to be on innovative funding mechanisms, and if you know anyone, let them know and get them to get in touch with us, because they can be featured. So we're really looking at early stage startups who are looking at ways to raise funding, right? So that's typically a challenge that a startup has. So how do you go about it? What are the different funding mechanisms? And so the next session will be on that last Wednesday of the following month. We also have AFRICOM and Global Entrepreneurship Week in November. And I think that's all I had to say. Okay, so a little bit about the agenda for tonight. Introduction, which I've done. We're now going to go into the speakers for this evening. We've got the Enterprise Elevator, which is going to be presented by Vasily. We've got Hyrax Bioscience. Simon's going to present on that. We've got Mobenzi by Andy Friedman. We've got 30-Day Health by Simon Spur. We've got Arc Aqua by Crispin. And our guest speaker tonight is Rian from LifeQ, who's doing an incredible job and built a fascinating company, who will be our key speaker for this evening. A big thank you, as always, to the Waterfront for providing your sponsorship and support for this initiative, and of course Workshop 17 for all the coordination and hard work you put behind the scenes, and of course Leanne, who coordinates all of this and makes it happen, who's often forgotten in the midst of everything. That's it. So over to Vasily, who will do our first Enterprise Elevator speech. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to Silicon Cape for allowing me the opportunity to talk to you tonight. My name is Vasily Sofiadelis. I'm going to be talking to you about Enterprise Elevator, which is focused on impact. It's a partner-driven accelerator program focused on high-impact entrepreneurs that are solving some of Africa's problems. Before I tell you more about Enterprise Elevator, I just want to share my journey with you and how I got towards this. So my dad was 14 years old when he came to South Africa. So from an early age, I was exposed to entrepreneurship. As a 9-year-old, I got onto a bicycle and opened a shop for the first time, which was quite an exciting memory for me. After that, as a Greek growing up in Bloemfontein, and yes, I do speak Afrikaans quite fluently. By the way, I had an absolutely amazing childhood, probably the best childhood. I couldn't have wished for anything better. But growing up in Bloemfontein as a young Greek man wasn't the easiest, and being in Great College had its challenges. And I think that also exposed me to diversity and just gave me a different perspective. So that was also quite an experience. And then, so that both those pictures are me. And in 1995, I started playing professional football. And I remember 1995, again, one of my proudest and most exciting things was actually staying in the township. My mom was quite horrified by it, but I was staying in one of the hotels there with all the team members. So again, it's just here in South Africa, a lot of us may focus on solving problems for, we may not have exposure to some of the things that are really matter. So like the bigger market is actually and the bigger problems that you need to be solving to making a difference is to areas where maybe not all of us get the necessary exposure to. Then the last part is after playing professional football, and one more lesson from professional football, I played on the 23 national team, but I believe I could have gone a lot further if I had the self-confidence and the self-belief to achieve what I want to achieve. And So I hung up my boots at 31. I was actually in Cape Town for football, but anyhow, and then I started doing articles at PwC and focused on doing multi-million rand deals in mergers and acquisitions, due diligence, valuations, and the like. And then got involved in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and that was really exciting and felt like home. So very focused on building, working with entrepreneurs at the Bandwidth Barn, and seeing how PwC can make a difference. Now, as a major corporate to get involved, and all corporates want to come and get involved into this space. They're all trying to get in, but now the rates are 3,000 rand per hour to help an entrepreneur. It's not justifiable. And that's where Enterprise Elevator comes in. So Enterprise Elevator, as I mentioned, sorry, 1 second. There's a big gap, but there's a need for a platform an inclusive collaborative platform where all different stakeholders can come and engage with all the startups. And so we've partnered with, I'm just going to go back to that there. Impact Amplifier, who's been running some top accelerator programs, both in Kenya and in South Africa. And they've got also a online platform from Santa Clara University. And then Entrepreneur Traction, a startup catalyst, and also Visions to Ventures. Okay, so I'm actually running out of time here. The biggest challenge is you got these innovative startups, but they're not investment ready. And what our focus is going to be on a 5-month program is to get them investment ready, so that when an investor comes and looks at them, they can see the value. And also market access. You've got the startups here and the corporates on the other side, and it's difficult for the two to come together. And what our platform is going to be is basically a platform to connect the two. So when a corporate comes and sits down and sees these startups, they'll be able to get value immediately and be able to help those startups accelerate. So we're going to be launching in December, and so we encourage you all to come and be part of our platform. And yeah, so... Sorry, that's just wanted to show our team. Guys from Entrepreneur Traction, Dean, Eric, Vuyisa, Tanner, Max, and myself. And yeah, so sorry, I was a bit nervous, and I just wanted to end with the last sentence to say, it's always impossible until it's done. And if you have a vision, just perseverance and keep on fighting, and you will achieve whatever you put your mind to. And thank you very much for listening.
Thanks so much, Vasily. So our next speaker is going to be Simon. Simon Travers, Irexpio. So he's going to be telling us a little bit about his startup. We're going to be running quite tight. We've got a lot of people, so you're going to be watching out for Baz, and he's going to be telling you when you've got 1 minute left. Have fun. There's a bit of a banana. Cool.
Good evening, everybody. My sore throat coupled with my Irish accent means that hopefully some of you will be able to understand me. So we're a startup company that's spun out of the University of the Western Cape. We're focused on making DNA-based diagnostics an actual reality. So I want to talk to you about HIV in South Africa. We're all very aware of HIV and the scourge that it is on society. So in South Africa, we know there's 6.8 million HIV positive individuals. We know that 4.7 million of these are eligible for treatment. So 4.7 million people in South Africa should be getting treatment today. Problem is, and there's many issues around why people aren't getting treatment, is that only 3.1 million of these people are actually receiving the treatment. Now, international best practice says that before you receive treatment, you should get a resistance test. And the reason we do resistance tests is to say that you can use these drugs on this person and your treatment isn't going to fail. 10% of people fail treatment during the course of treatment. But what actually is available for the number of people who are receiving treatment in South Africa, most of you won't be able to see this, but it's a tiny little red dot down here in the bottom. So only that number of people, are receiving resistance tests. So we're not anywhere near resistant. We're not anywhere near best practice. most resource-limited countries with a high burden of HIV aren't either near international best practice. So we need to be able to get resistance testing available to people to ensure the continued success of ARV programs throughout the world. Very quickly, conventional resistance testing essentially involves taking a HIV-positive individual, taking a blood sample, and sequencing the DNA. So just taking a bit of the DNA, sequencing it, and looking for mutations. And these mutations say, yes, we are resistant to some drugs or we're resistant to other drugs. That's very, very easy to do. The problem is that it's a very expensive process. So per patient, it costs about 6,000 Rand per patient, and that's the reason why we can't do routine resistance testings in resource-limited settings. So what we've come along and what we can do is we can now generate this data. So we can generate this sequence data very easily and very cheaply. It actually costs about 500 Rand per patient to be able to generate this data. The good thing about this is that now we have the ability to do resistance testing routinely. The major problem is that this data is incredibly complicated, it's incredibly complex to analyze, and so what's stopping the use of these technologies for resistance testing is the data analysis. So that's where we come in. We've developed a product. It's a web-based product. Essentially, it's a website where people can upload the data from these sequencing machines. And essentially what we give back is a resistance report that clinicians can interpret. So just to put it in context, this individual has been sequenced using one of these machines, and we just say what drugs can be used and what drugs cannot be used for this individual. This individual would fail first-line treatment in South Africa. So without a resistance test, this person's treatment would not be successful. The problem is when somebody's treatment isn't successful, there's potential that they can infect somebody else with the resistant virus as well, and so on and so on. And you can see the problem is then that treatment programs start to fail. So that's essentially what we do, but our big picture vision is that we can make point-of-care DNA-based resistance diagnostics a reality. So that's really a mouthful, but what do I mean? I'm an individual with TB living in let's say, rural KwaZulu-Natal. I go to a clinician. The clinician says, yes, I think you have TB, so what I have to do is I have to take a sputum sample, I have to send that off to a lab, and the lab are going to test. And by the way, you'll get the results in about 2 weeks' time. Problem with that is this person is infected with what is called XDR TB, which means that basically no drugs work on them. So for that 2 weeks, they're in the taxi, they're in the shopping centers, they're everywhere, and there's a potential for them to infect people during that time with TB that's resistant to other people. If we can develop point-of-care diagnostics where the doctor takes the sample at that point of time, half an hour later, he says to them, look, you have this resistant type of TB, therefore we need to isolate you, we need to bring you into the specialist facility, or we need to give you these drugs or these other drugs. That's exactly what we need. And so what we're doing is we're partnering with individuals who generate the data. We will analyze the data, and we've already started. We obviously have our HIV product. We're already starting the development of TB diagnostics for instant detection of resistance, and we're also working on antimicrobial resistance, which there's been an estimate that suggests that that's going to cost the world economy $100 trillion before 2015. So these are major, major problems that we're working on, and yeah, it's an exciting time to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon, perfectly on time. And now we've got Andy. He's going to be telling us a little bit about his startup. There he goes. Pretty cool. Check it out.
Thanks. All right, good evening, everyone. It's great to be here. My name's Andy Friedman. I'm the co-founder of a company called Mabenzi. I'd like to spend a few minutes, probably 3 minutes, 3 to 4, 5, if I get it, just to talk about the role of technology in primary healthcare. I acknowledge that this topic is probably not as sexy as some of the topics that you'll be hearing about tonight. But for me, and I hope you will see it the same way, the attraction of technology in primary healthcare is really about impact and the scale of that impact that you can have. Just to dovetail off what Simon was saying, in 2013 alone, we saw over 1.5 million people worldwide die of an HIV-associated cause. That's a staggering statistic. And it's staggering because we realize that with reliable supply of antiretroviral treatment and good adherence, an HIV-positive person on treatment has the same life expectancy as an HIV-negative person. So simply said, taking a single pill once a day can literally save millions of lives. And that sounds pretty simple, right? But the reality is that in South Africa and many other countries which suffer from this quadruple burden of disease of HIV, TB, maternal and child mortality rates, and non-communicable diseases, facilities are simply overwhelmed. And people have a huge challenge in accessing these facilities as well. So they get there and the facility is overwhelmed, if they can get there at all, and they struggle to get the treatment that they need and the follow-up that they need. And what we're seeing is primary health and public health providers looking for large-scale, distributed, community-based models for the provision of primary healthcare services. So what we do at Mabenzi is we look to empower frontline community health workers and inform decision makers with technology, allowing them to deploy very configurable, bespoke, turnkey community health interventions. We work with partners such as departments of health, academic institutions, research institutions, and the like, to identify and to implement and scale mobile health or mHealth initiatives. So over the past 8 years or so, we've been working to develop a suite of integrated platforms, which, as I said, allow us to configure these very, very flexible turnkey solutions for primary health care. The platforms are used in about 40 countries by several thousand frontline workers. And what we're really excited about is we're steadily rolling out this technology in South Africa to partners such as the Department of Health, where we're working with what they call ward-based outreach teams, which consist of community health workers who provide very critical community-based services like screening, referral, as well as adherence support. And what we do is provide these community health workers with a low-cost Android device running our software, which enables them to record and schedule all of the visits that they need to perform, to provide the treatment adherence that they need to, and receive the guidelines in line with best practice. So this technology really supports and underpins all of the activities of these teams. It also allows information to be exchanged between the community health worker and a facility such that the continuum of care can be supported throughout. It's a really exciting time to really be in the space. Although we've been doing this for almost a decade, in some ways we almost feel like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible. As I said, we now manage community health workers in a number of provinces in the country, and at the moment in the Northwest, for example, we have about 63,000 patients in the system receiving follow-up interactions from community health workers. Thanks very much for letting me share a bit of my story with you, and look forward to connecting. Thank you.
Right, so up next we're going to have Kirsten, and she's going to be telling us about the greater... Oh, guys, watch out. Great, Kirsten, thanks. Here we go. Just push the button.
Which one?
Yep, that's it. No, this one. Yeah. Oops. Sorry, guys. Okay. I'll get you there so long.
There. Next one.
Great. Just push the next button. Yeah, that's it. Great.
Okay, hi. My name is Kirsten Sloth-Nielsen. I'm from a company called the Greater Tygerberg Partnership. Our company was established 3 years ago with the aim of facilitating the redevelopment of Bellville and the Fort Checker Road corridor and the Greater Tygerberg region, which is basically the area outlined in red. As the Greater Tygerberg Partnership, we focus on upgrading the built environment, which isn't really related to health, but also socio and economic development of the area. As a partnership builder, we're very similarly structured to the Cape Town Partnership. We're not implementing agents. We are conversation starters, lobbyists, facilitators, and partnership builders. So one of our focus is on health innovation. For us, this is the kind of definition of health innovation that we aim to focus on. So when I started at the Greater Tygerberg Partnership and they told me we were focusing on health, I kind of wondered, why are we focusing on health in Tygerberg? It seemed a bit obscure to me, given that also I didn't really know the Tygerberg region very well. But actually, when one looks at the number of facilities and academic institutions in the area, it makes a whole lot of sense. There are over 11 private facilities and 9 public facilities, and then some huge academic institutions in the area. And then in addition to this, there's already a number of health innovation projects going on. For example, there's the Vula mobile eye care app that's just been developed. And I don't know if you heard, but the first penis transplant took place at Tygerberg Hospital a little while ago, and the man has now fathered a child. So that's a huge innovation for our region. Okay. So we work on a number of health innovation projects. The first one is that we've started a healthcare forum. We've had our first health forum meeting, and this is a platform for the public sector and private sector to come together and connect and collaborate, which currently they don't really do, and to find innovative solutions to cross-cutting healthcare issues. The second project we're focusing on is a wearable technology project, where we're busy undertaking a pre-feasibility study to see whether wearable technology could become one of the key economic identities for the Tygerberg region. And then the third project is the Tygerberg Integrated Medical Portal, which I'm going to be speaking about now. So we have identified an integrated medical portal as a need for the area, and this would be a virtual portal. We see it as being a platform where researchers, patients, practitioners can come together, connect and collaborate, and that it can improve the healthcare in the area. Some of the benefits we see this portal having includes access to training and research opportunities, access to information regarding health and wellness. It can help the government sector achieve their policy goals. It can improve patient experiences. It can provide collaboration and learning, and it can create relationship development and sector integration. The services we see this portal's hosting are things like online bookings, symptom checkers, being able to access your nearest facility according to the kind of symptoms that you are experiencing, dedicated channels for practitioners and researchers to communicate. And then over time, we'd also like it to become a central platform for people to be able to access their billing online and to become a platform for digitized patient records, which is a long-term goal because hospitals struggle with digitized patient records, but ideally it would make it a huge jump in healthcare in Cape Town if all hospitals had digitized patient records, especially for transfers between different facilities. So currently we've had a pre-feasibility study done for the portal by a company called Urban Econ. This was done in collaboration with a number of health stakeholders in the area, and it came out as very positive. And our next steps are that we're busy running a business case modeling and implementation plan. What we are hoping to get out of this is to get the financial mechanisms about how this portal is going to work, the technological requirements, because it's going to have quite significant technological implications, hosting a portal that can be accessed by so many people, looking at a risk analysis and mitigation methods, and then most importantly, identifying what are the next steps, what is the role of the Greater Tygerberg Partnership in this, and who are the partners that we need to get involved. And then with a lot of groundwork and the outcomes of this business case modeling, we are hoping to have the first phase of this portal up and running in the next 2 years. Thank you very much.
Well done. Thank you very much, Kirsten. Okay, so next up is, you did well, guys, eh? Round of applause. There we go. My next up is going to be Simon Spur, and he's going to be doing my 30-day health. All right. Quite tall, so there we go. You can take it off. And there's your buzzer.
I'll just click through. Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Wow, I'm from Joburg, and this is not a terrible view for a Wednesday evening, I've got to be honest. Good evening, everyone. My name is Simon, and I'm from a company called 30-Day Health. To kickstart, I think a lot of people, as an intro, ask me, what is 30-Day Health? You know, what does the name mean? Essentially, we know that the first 30 days from the time that a patient leaves hospital is a critical period in terms of monitoring that patient and managing them to avoid readmission. So readmission is quite a big buzzword in the healthcare environment at the moment, and a big cost driver. So patients leave hospital, and for certain reasons, they go back into hospital, and a lot of that is very, very unnecessary. So we're creating a way, using home-based care, to manage that patient from the time that they leave hospital for that critical period, and sometimes through going on an ongoing basis to be able to make sure that they don't go back into hospital. This is, interesting enough, our second-born baby. I've been in the digital health game now for just over 3 years. We started a patient engagement platform, and very quickly started to realize that there's a big gap in terms of communicating with patients and allowing patients to connect to relevant care providers. Hence the reason why we started this. So my slide deck is very simple. I wanted to try and avoid looking like a pitch deck and just rather kind of give you a bit of visual and listen to me talk rather than looking at numbers and stats on the slides. But essentially, why are we doing this? You know, very, very simply, we feel that patients, once they're leaving hospital, and patients in an open environment in the healthcare system, find it very difficult to connect to relevant care providers. And there's a big shift globally right now towards home-based care. Why? Because home-based care makes sense. It's much cheaper. We have a very good network of home care supports in South Africa. Globally, this is becoming a more prominent focus. So essentially what we're doing is we're creating a very simple interface for a patient to be able to care for a home care worker, to be able to come to the home and provide basic care services, log those services, and facilitate an interaction with a care provider. So when we talk about caregivers, it's really your unskilled, we will obviously skill them to a level using our partners, skill them to a level, they will be able to support a patient for really basic medical care. We'll be working with nurses, clinically trained people who can help on a next level, and then we'll start moving into other realms of healthcare providers. So enrolling a range of healthcare providers who can be called to the home really easily using a mobile phone and engage with the patient and really help that and support that patient from being readmitted into hospital. So, you know, to touch on what Andy was saying is that right now in the global market is that people are living longer. It's a fact. Chronic disease is spiraling out of control. Healthcare systems are under immense burden. And how do we, as a healthcare environment, how do we start managing the costs? Because, you know, people are living longer, they're costing more to the healthcare system. So using home-based care, facilitating that interaction with a provider, the ease of use of calling them into the home and managing that interaction is really our key focus. So essentially, we're right at this point, we're building the platform. We're looking at a mid-December piloting process. We'll be launching early on in the new year. We're partnering with nurses, with caregivers, any home-based care providers to bring into our network and allow that facilitation with patients to be able to call them into the home. And we are home care delivered. So I'm excited to be here. We're based in the top part there. I'm with the Barclays Tech Lab cohort. So if you guys would like to connect, come chat to me. Let's have a coffee, glass of wine tonight. I'd love to talk.
So just to clarify, there is no confusion. There are two Simons here tonight. Okay, so Stellenbosch Nanofiber, please give a round of applause for Eugene.
Hi there, I'm Eugene Smith from Stellenbosch Nanofiber Company. I'm going to start by giving you a little glimpse of the near future. So don't you think it's going to be great when all our phones and tablets are completely transparent like that one? Just imagine when you're walking down the street using your phone to navigate to the nearest sushi bar, and you can actually see where you're going as you're walking. Or imagine in the medical application when an ER doctor can actually use a transparent device like that and look at the patient with a superimposed X-ray picture over it to see where the injury is. Isn't that going to be cool? Have you seen one of these? It's a gigantic solar farm. Thousands of solar panels stuck out there in the desert far, far away to generate electricity for us over a year. Why is it not here? Because there's no space here. So think if we could take them and make them transparent. That's the solar panels. We make them completely transparent and we stick them on all the windows in all the buildings where we live. Just imagine how much electricity a huge sky-rise building like that could generate with millions of square meters or thousands of square meters of glass. And then we want to get around. Okay, we know that cars contribute significantly to pollution in the environment. And for years they've been telling us, fuel cell cars are going to take that problem away, right? Less impact, clean fuel, perfect. But for years it stayed in that place, concept car. And basically it's because the catalysts in these fuel cells need to be more efficient so that you can have less fuel on board to get the distance. So wouldn't it be great if we just get those catalysts already? Something more serious, right? Every year, thousands of people get burned with hot water at home. Doesn't matter how careful you are, and usually it's the kids that suffer the worst. But wouldn't it be great? Let me show that again. Wouldn't it be great if that bad burn can be healed with a little bandage that you put on there, and less than 3 weeks later it looks like that, with virtually no scarring? That's going to be awesome, right? Or how about if your child develops some degenerative disease that leads to loss of vision? Wouldn't it be amazing if doctors can take his own cells and tissue engineer a new replacement part for the eye to restore the vision? That's going to be awesome. Now, at the Stellenbosch Nanofiber company, we are developing nanofiber materials that are key enablers for all of those technologies. Nanofibers are these teeny little lines. Is there a laser here? You see these little lines here in the background? These are nanofibers. This is a human hair, gigantically magnified with an electron microscope. So the fibers we make are tiny in comparison, really tiny. And when they're so small, they get unique properties. When the metal fibers are that small, you can make a film on a surface that's conductive but see-through, enabling things like those transparent iPads, solar panels. When we make them from biodegradable materials, we can make tissue engineering scaffolds because they mimic the actual scaffolding that keeps together our cells in our tissues. Or we can make amazing bandages that actually work. That's real footage from a real bandage we've developed. And we can make high surface area catalysts for fuel cells. So traditionally, this is the process, how it's made. This is a syringe needle. Here you have a polymer shooting out of that needle because you're applying 15,000 volts DC to it, and it's whipping like crazy, forming a nanofiber. And that's been used around the world to demonstrate lots and lots of cool tech. But usually, you end up, after about an hour of spinning, with a little spider web like that, which is amazing to demonstrate technology concepts, but the moment you want to take it commercial, the fact that you get fractions of a gram per hour basically doesn't help you go for the big business. So the Stellenbosch Nanofiber company has patented high-throughput electrospinning technology. This is a ball spinning in a polymer solution, and we have tens of jets coming off there, and then it scales quite easily to systems with multiple balls spinning with thousands of jets simultaneously, taking it from fractions of a gram per hour to kilograms per hour quantities. And so instead of that little spider web, we make webs like these in an hour. And we're applying these nanofibers and developing them with partners in various industries, electronics, medical, you name it. That's what SNC is about. Thank you very much.
When I was going through the presentations for this, I was like quite amazed that this technology is literally made a few kilometers away from here. Crispin from Arc Aqua, he's up next. There we go. Well done, Alex. Nice designs. Just a little.
Just push forward. It's a bit unfair. It's a bit unfair to make me go after Eugene, but anyway. My name's Crispin Russell. I'm from a company called Arc Aqua, and Eugene and I see each other a lot at the same product developer, and now I understand what your product's all about. It's great. Chemical sanitizers these days are no longer effective, and global statistics are that 30% of all fresh produce that is produced is simply thrown away because of food wastage. The other side of it is because chemical sanitizers are no longer effective, we're getting superbugs that are actually developing through chemical resistance. There's been statistics that have come out of America to say that areas that have high amounts of chlorine and quaternarium compounds in the waterways, and those are found in your domestic detergents, we're seeing more and more incidences of antibiotic resistance in human beings. So we're really feeding the resistance in humans through the chemicals that we're using to clean our homes and clean our food. I suppose most of you don't know that every day that you go to the shops and you go and buy food, there's chlorine in your food. If you're buying chicken, if you're buying salad, if you're simply thinking, oh, well, I'm going to go and buy this amazing peach because it's fresh and there's no chemicals in it. There's probably about, besides in the growing process, about another 3 other chemicals that have been added post-harvest to actually make it last longer and look presentable on the shelf. Even fruits like avocados, for instance. I was shocked recently to find out with one of our clients that we're working with that avocados have a preservative that's put on them that if you ingest it, it will make you sterile. It's not, it might, it will. And besides that, there's a huge amount of chlorine that goes in our food before that. So what can we really do about it? You know, what can we do to not ingest chemicals every single day when we're eating? Well, ozone has been commercially used since 1896. And it's the easiest way to explain what ozone is if you have a thunder and lightning storm and you go outside, there's a clean smell in the air. Now, that's ozone that's produced when the lightning strikes through the air, it disrupts the oxygen atoms, and the O2s reform as O3s. But what happens is they want to go back to being O2. So it's incredibly reactive. And what it'll do, does this work? I wonder. Over there is, that's an illustration of what ozone is, the O2 below and the O3 above. And what it wants to do is it wants to drop that oxygen atom off, and it'll drop it off in anything. So if it's in the air and you breathe it in, it'll oxidize your lungs. But if it's on a surface and there's a microbe on a surface that you want to kill, it'll actually oxidize the cell wall, rupturing the cell wall, the plasma leaks out of the microbe, and your bacteria dies. So you can't get immunity buildup to ozone. The other side of it is once the ozone is reacted, it goes back to being oxygen. So it's incredibly safe if it's used in the correct way. The problem is that in all the years gone by, everybody went, well, we need to put the ozone in water because that'll make it stable and we can then use it to sanitize things. But the problem with that has been that you need a huge amount of ozone to get into the water. And the problem is as soon as those little tiny bubbles of gas in the water raise to the surface, the ozone then leaks into the atmosphere, making it unsafe for the environment, and you could breathe it in. So where we've come along is we've gone and we've developed and globally patented with 2 patents, a technology where instead of making tiny little ozone gas bubbles in water, we actually went the other way and said, well, let's make tiny little water droplets and coat them with ozone. So we developed a nozzle that breaks the water up and then entrenches a stream of ozone gas into that stream of into that stream of water, and you can now use that to sanitize anything. We've getting better results in the field and in the lab than what you do with your commercial sanitizers. And we're seeing incredibly good results from pack houses to restaurants to massive processing plants. So ultimately, our customers that we've got, how do they really benefit? Well, you know, for you as their customers, well, you benefit by not eating any chemicals. Besides that, well, it talks to obviously reducing the chemicals that goes into the food. Saving water, well, because of the process really that our system uses, well, we save about 95 to 97% of the water that would have been previously used to sanitize your fresh produce. Well, that all talks to reducing micro, because that's what it's designed to do, is drop the micro count on foods. And incidentally, if you drop the micro count on foods, the bacteria count on foods, well, if there's a bad bacteria like salmonella, you're going to get sick. But your normal bacteria, what they do is they cause your food to go off. So by reducing that micro count in the food, your food now lasts longer. So we reduce the waste. And we reduce the waste in your home, we reduce the waste at the shop. Systems are easy to use. Small systems, really, if you turn on your water tap that is connected to the system, initializes, it starts running. All of these things on the top lines talk to saving money for the client as well as the restaurateur, supermarket, things like that. Environmentally friendly, well, ultimately, what you've got left is water and air. And the systems are completely tested and accredited. Very quickly, a couple of our customers that we're working with, and we've seen phenomenal results. Westphalia, they produce 37% of avocados globally. And they're We're installed in Woolworths in some of their stores on their fish counters, and we've seen brilliant results there from extending shelf life to improving the organoleptic qualities of the fish that they serve. If you go to Woolworths and you buy any fish, it's treated with our system. So we're in the factory that produces that fish as well as at their store levels. Faircape Dairies and Rhodes Foods, those are your two Woolworths milk suppliers. And all of their bottled milk is treated with our system. On the filling machines, what we've done is we've dropped the micro in the machines. They've seen extended shelf lives on the milk. I&J, their seafood, again, reducing the micro and all the processing equipment, and ultimately reducing the risk of contaminated seafood really contaminating the line for the rest of the day in production. And that's about it.
Thank you so much, Crispin. Rian, come forth. So we've got our keynote speakers, and we're talking for a few minutes about LifeQ, which I think is quite an exciting company in Cape Town. While he's busy chatting to you, before he tells you, he's going to tell you a bit about the next videos and show you. While that happens, I'm going to try and plug in the right cable.
I'm not going to say anything now. I'm going to wait for the video game. Hi, everyone.
I hope this works. Okay. Let's go to the next slide.
Secrets of your sweat, the mysteries of your muscles and blood bear on your future health. All unlocked by the steady hand of technology. That's the lofty goal of the men and women working out of this lab.
It's a very exciting time for us, and we're bracing ourselves to see how it will be adopted.
This is it, the LifeQ device. While touching a person's skin, developers say it uses optical sensors to collect the person's real-time physical data, like heartbeat and oxygen levels. Then goes a step further. Based on mathematical models created in this room, it creates a digital simulation of what's happening in your body. A virtual recreation that can then be sent to your phone or computer.
What this technology opens up is the ability to infer values for your physiology that you cannot measure directly. So things like, for example, what is your calorie consumption rate cannot be measured directly, but by following your vital signs and using models, one can actually calculate these hidden values.
The minds at HealthQ Technologies call it biomathematics. Developed in a setting so casual that dogs play at the front desk. It has the look of a Silicon Valley startup, but this lab and most of the people working in it are in Stellenbosch, outside of Cape Town, South Africa.
I think what they're doing competes globally with any other innovative tech startup. I think it will be quite a major global player in the life sciences tech realm, and who knows, it could be IPOing for all we know.
While there are no independent studies to back up their findings, HealthQ's technology is featured in this TomTom GPS fitness watch. The company says there's a good chance it'll be in other wearable technology. But Dr. Rian Conradi sees many more applications. Long term, he believes the technology and its 24/7 health monitoring will help more than just those who want to track their fitness.
If you think about this, you can get, instead of an episodal view of a user where once a year, for instance, you go to your physician, you can now get a continuous stream of relevant information.
That can help doctors notice trends or other health concerns much more quickly, and possibly one day, the technology created here can help save lives. Robin Kerno, CNN.
Thanks, Gil. Cool. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity that I can speak here. We're ending at 9, right? So I have about an hour and 8 minutes to keep you busy with. No, I'm going to try and be short. It's not a very complicated story. It was quite a complicated journey to this point. Silicon Cape is very close to my heart. That is really where I fell in love with the technology scene as such. I was very much before that time an academic, and a week about before that event, I met a co-founder of mine, Laurie Olivier, met up with Justin and them that week. That's really what got the ball rolling. So Silicon Cape is an amazing initiative, and I just wanted to first point that out before doing what I love doing, and that's just tell you about LifeQ. I think people can be easily misled if you look at all these stories like yours, Andy, and Simon, and so it took a while, and it took a lot of sweat and things to get to that point, and Daniel, it took a lot of guys like your money that we need in companies to build things like this. So I just wanted to reminisce for just short while with you. I have four pictures that I wanted to share, 4 or 5. This is where everything started. So it started up in my attic, very much the old story that you read. Bunch of guys just tinkering. We didn't really have an idea where we're heading. We knew we wanted to disrupt healthcare. We knew that in some way technology would be a key driver. We believe in the potential of technology to change things. Technology can also create a lot of subsequent problems, as we've even seen in the healthcare sector. But I think in general, technology has really helped humanity forward. We just need to have a more mature way of engaging with it, and I really think that humanity is more and more adopting that view and looking more holistically at problems. So we started up in this attic, a bunch of guys, and there's Cora in the back as well. This was actually her room that we annexed. And then we moved, we opened up in an old house in Stellenbosch. This was our employees in the first open source metabolic chamber in the world that we built. That was our whole team fitting in that little room. And this was funny. People got really excited about this thing. We built it as a tool to help us measure things, and I think the word open source was quite interesting to people, but I think then also metabolic chamber was interesting because it sounds quite techy, but it's quite a simple thing. You just blow air through it, and you measure the inlet and the outlet, and then you can work back and say, well, what is this person's metabolic activity, and how much oxygen is he using, how much carbon dioxide is he producing. Things progressed. It was a meeting. There's Laurie on the top right as well, visiting. He's Atlanta-based, so he came to visit our office. And then things moved to this, where I think we're north of 84 people now. There was a few new people appointed just the last 2 weeks. But moved in a space in Stellish, and you can ask, well, why are we doing this? I mean, why are we investing all this time? Why are people investing their money in this? And it comes down to a very simple story. And this is for all of our businesses, I think, relevant. 10% of GDP currently gets spent globally just to keep people healthy and to keep people alive. In the US, in about 3-4 years' time, that will be a fifth. It's currently 17%. I think it will be a fifth. It will be 20% in 3 or 4 years' time. And we've identified a key impediment is access to timely, accurate, high-value information. There's many ways to solve that. There's platforms that one can build, and we thought that analytics, and especially biological-driven analytics, could be a key way of addressing this problem. So just to contrast, I mean, usually if an athlete needs to get all these vitals, oxygen usage, if they have to get this VO2 max values that you know of, all these things, you need to go to quite a sophisticated laboratory, pay a lot of money, get strapped up with a lot of expensive equipment, get a lot of skilled people around you to try and decipher all these values related to your physiology. There's stuff on your finger, masks on your, I mean, it's just very difficult to obtain these things. Just to measure blood lactate, for instance, you have to draw blood so it's difficult during running, you can't take samples. These are all just pictures pertaining very much to exercise, but this is the same for sleep. For sleep, you need a ton of glue on your head and just a lot of wires, and in a sense, you can ask yourself, how is this at all a natural circumstances where I'm sleeping? I'm not going to really understand sleep that well from this 3-4 hour session. And I don't have any other context of the patient. I mean, I always say a physician is someone that has their hand in front of their eyes, and for once a year they can quickly lift that and have a peak. And through that, they must make all these predictions and they must diagnose people. I mean, I must commend anyone that has the ability to quickly just peek and then make these sophisticated diagnoses. And this is really what our value proposition, and by the way, all of your value propositions I think is about, this is just very specific to ours, is the fact that if you look at information, there's two axes. In this case, there's a value and a volume axis. You have a lot of exceptionally high value, life-changing things, but they're just inaccessible. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you have these cheap and easy, high volume things like step counters, and it's nice to know, it's nice to have, but it doesn't really help anyone. And what LifeQ aims to do is to shift this curve. Your battery is running low, Guillaume. This is a problem. It's always nice to have a few surprises. Thanks. And you can see traditionally, you can even block these in, thank you, Guillaume. You can even block these in widely available non-invasive consumer devices. Then here at the bottom, it's lab equipment, medical equipment. And in the middle, there's this expensive, but at least it's still accessible consumer devices. And what LifeQ is all about is just shifting this curve. We want to make, in a nutshell, high-value information universally accessible to every person on this planet. Oh yeah, that battery thing has hijacked this now. Huh? Yeah. So, the exciting bit, the technology. How do we plan on doing this? There's this one, we need information. We need it from people's bodies. There's implantables. Michael sitting there is working on an implantable in our office at this stage that hopefully can measure oxygen sats and heart rate and things like that. There's implantable, wearable devices that we're working, wearable device companies, consumer electronics companies, and it's basically to enable this non-invasive data acquisition. Because if you want to scale, it should not impede anyone's life. You should not worry about battery life. You should not worry about the size of a thing, how comfortable it is. And our way of dealing with that, we know technology will catch up. So we are just enabling every single company that are doing data acquisition. Fortunately for us, we have a lot of Fortune 500 families backing us. They're giving us a lot of access to basically every single consumer electronics and digital health company in the world. And we are speaking with these guys, giving them reference devices and say, here's a device. You can experiment and test this device. If you like, you can implement this in your own technology. So we've, I'll show you a picture later, but our model's very simple. Basically what we say is you can have this for a price of X, but given that you enable your users to share their data to our platform so that we can do our clever bioanalytical tricks and the team can start churning through that data, we will subsidize the cost, that license cost per device heavily. And so far, not a single wearable device company we've engaged with has not opted for that option of rather enabling their users, because it's not even the cost-saving component. It's the fact that you can, on the other end, through application providers, through service providers, create a much bigger and richer offering around your technology. Similar like an iPhone or an Android device. I mean, if you only had the apps of, let's say, Samsung or Sony on there, I promise you, you will be very bored. You standing in a banking queue will again feel like a treacherous ordeal. Now it's just like to get a bit of free time to quickly jump on Facebook or so. And that would not have been possible if these devices were not opened up to an ecosystem. And we very much embrace that. We don't want to build devices. We would be lousy at building devices. We don't know the market. So we enable guys on the data acquisition side. Similarly, we, on the information delivery side, enable people. And in the middle, we focus on extracting, mining value out of this information. And then, as a result of this, it turned out that we are also, of every single individual latching into our ecosystem, we take them on a journey to build their own personalized virtual human model. So this is a silicon replica of your physiology, a silicon replica of your body in the cloud. We've already characterized stuff like the cardiac system. We've just implemented the HPA, so your hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, your stress axes. And we model these things and we gather data and we parameterize this model to be a personalized replica of you, that you can in time interrogate and get value out. Questions like, why did I wake up this morning and just feel really bad? Why did I wake up yesterday? I cannot put my finger on it. I just felt great. How does my sleep affect my stress? How does my stress affect my sleep? What does exercise have to do with it? In time, I hope we will get to a point where people working on genomics, we can integrate that information, already having some very exciting discussions around incorporating genomics, understanding how your external factors, the food you eat, your gut microbiome, all these things, how they interrelate to make you feel like you feel. We are now entering a phase in medicine where we realize even though the solutions we work towards should be simple, we're realizing like, sheesh, this is actually not a very simple system. We've oversimplified things. We've, like Arc Aqua working on the ozone things. I mean, chlorine, how it disrupts your basic gut microbiome. It's just things that have been neglected. There's these big changes that we've made, and we've just assumed that it's okay for humans. And these are the things we want to challenge with our technology as well. That's probably the things that excite me the most, is these big, glaring assumptions that we have that we don't have answers for. So yeah, so I've brushed on this. As a systems biologist, I don't see any device as a sensor. Sure, it's a sensor, but it looks at a much more sophisticated sensor. Your body, every single body sitting here is a sensor. You are responding, becoming drowsy, listening to me talking. You are sitting, you're salivating because you're thinking there's wine on its way. Your body responds to different stimuli. And that's why we as systems biologists consider your body as the sensor. And we use mathematics to characterize that sensor. We then look at data acquisition, look at data from devices and implantables and things that gives us the outcome of that sensor. And we work back. We say, what must this highly sophisticated human sensor be subjected to in order to see what we're seeing from the wearable device? And that question, that philosophy that we're following, has really opened up a lot of new things that we, I think, didn't even anticipate. And I'm going to share some of those to you now. We open up, through these non-invasive means, then these lab-grade metrics, and we deliver them. It can either pertain to your physical fitness, nutrition, sleep, stress, all these facets of your life, we can then deliver to app providers and service companies. So we are, in less than a month's time, we're starting our platform validation with some of the most amazing hospital groups, for instance, in the world: Mayo Clinic, Harvard Medical, Brigham's and Women's Hospital, a lot of platform validation partners, some of the biggest names that you have seen in the world, and it will be announced very soon as we run in with these partnerships. All I can say is there's a lot of excitement, because we have yet to understand how what we cannot fathom on the data acquisition side. We have yet to fathom what are people going to do with this information. We're sitting there in the middle, and we're just very excited to see what pops up with these partners. We already have inklings of amazing things that would be doable with this information. This was TomTom device, was released beginning of October with our technology. There's a bunch of them, devices that will follow. If you believe our commercial team, there will be 15 to 20 of these devices by the end of this coming year in the market with our technology in. And this was just something, I think it popped out 2 or 3 days in the market, and it was very nice to read, where they said, we don't expect much from wrist-based heart rate trackers, especially after our own in-depth comparison of straps versus optical heart rate measurements showed wild disparity. And our hearts initially sank when TomTom announced that it had ditched BioTech. Bio is from Philips, from the Spark. Instead, it's using a sensor supplied by LifeQ, a new company that's making its debut on the Spark. However, we needn't have worried. Our testing showed that TomTom Spark to be the most accurate optical heart rate tracker that's been put through wearables tests. As you can see from the data below, not only did the average heart rate data match up exactly to Garmin's chest strap, it was never more than 1 beat per minute out. A highly impressive performance. So that was pretty nice to read. And it reiterates our philosophy. We're not going to put junk out there. We would rather go at it for 2 more months, and we'll just put exceptional value in measures and metrics out into the world that people can start to build Lego with. I've at CES said, data is the new Lego. We couldn't fathom the fact that there would be devices like mobile phones, all existing of different materials. And it's physical, tangible things that can take my voice, convert that in a frequency, a radio frequency, transmit that via a satellite or whatever back to a mobile device on the other end of the world. And this has all been done with stuff. Now we are entering a phase where I can say I can give you heart rate. I can say I can give to you oxygen saturation, or Yaku, help me, what can I give them? I can give them your stress levels, your cortisol levels, all these things. But that is just the beginning. That is the Legos that we are creating. We have yet to fathom the phones and the satellites that are going to be created with data. And that's why I say Lego is the new data, and we're only building the Legos now. People say, you must be tired. You probably worked like, you're very happy that your company has grown. I feel like we've only done 0.5% of what we're supposed to do, not even. There's a lot that still needs to be done. So with that, I'm going to show you a quick something, and I need to press F11. So I'm going to show you Simon Opperman. He works for the South African Rugby Union, and he said I could show off his data. This is and what we tried to do here was to showcase if I just had an accurate heart rate signal that we can produce and accelerometry, what can our analytics team come up with at this stage? I mean, they're nowhere near finished mining this data, but at this current moment in time. And you can already see that they can open up things like sleep, stress levels. I mean, just to appreciate this, exercise and stress, both of them has and in most instances, an elevated heart rate as a result. To accurately and reliably distinguish between these things, I can open up these boxes, say, let's look at an exercise event. We can not only predict your total metabolic activity in watts, you can look at the energy systems like your phosphogenic system, your glycolytic system, your aerobic system. We can predict your blood lactate trace during that event. And these dots that you see, we hooked up Simon to all these expensive equipment and blood drawn from him. And these things you can see very reliably follow the blood lactate trace that our modeling predicts. Similarly, for instance, here, you can see that one lighting up. That is a predicted VO2, your oxygen saturation during his exercise. He did a VO2 max test. That dotted line is what's in reality measured through this expensive equipment. We can predict core body temperature, skin temperature, core body temperature. You can ask Fani sitting there, he can tell you all about it. These vitals are very, very important for just basic safety things, for people in ambulatory care. It's core vitals to know, to understand the individual that's in front of you. If you look at something like stress, there's two big events. So what was asked of the individual here was to first give a speech of his personal weaknesses in front of a crowd, video footage. People cried. We almost had to decide we're going to have to stop this experiment because I think the people, our employees, administering these tests, I don't know who it was the hardest for the people administering the test or the people taking part, but you can clearly see a huge stress response. Second one is then, as I said, I have not said that, I think, mental arithmetic. So you had a thing like take 1033, subtract 19 sequentially, and people would, if you make a mistake, they would immediately interject and say, start over again. That's wrong. And you see these clear events. And for me, the most fascinating is we could, taking into account your circadian rhythm, we could predict your cortisol levels. This is exceptional. You can just think, I'm going to think of a random use case now, a use case, corporate wellness use case. If I could know in an organization of 6,000 employees who has a close proximity to someone else, how does their cortisol spike as a result of that engagement, I can start building maps of how people perpetuate stress through an organization. I mean, it's and that's what I say. We don't do the application side because there's just too many applications. You just cannot focus on those. And I'm sure you will come up with more innovative stuff than I can. Another exciting bit, if you look at our sleep solution, there's a lot of devices out there that makes use of an accelerometer and say, this is you asleep, this is you awake. But earlier tonight I talked about your executive function when you wake up and you just feel like the world is my oyster. And some mornings you wake up and you're just like, I wish it was tomorrow already. And that feeling and that executive function, it's actually very easy to describe. If you can delineate your REM and your non-REM sleep and understand how these phases interrelate with each other. Again, very important information. Business executives, basically everyone in the world, this can be important for. And we can predict these REM phases and the different phases of sleep quite accurately at this stage. I believe we're the most accurate in the world in the consumer space at this moment in time, and we're benchmarking continuously against new sleep studies, new sleep data sets. So that's me. I mean, it's an amazing journey. This is really just the tip of the iceberg. I hope we can build digital simulations in the cloud of each and every one of you. Just like Bill Gates said, a computer on every desk, we think a digital simulation of your body in the cloud for every human on this planet. And I do think we can do a lot of good with this, and we are structuring it as such that we can just do that. And thanks for listening. Appreciate it.
Rian, before you run off, got a small gift. Wow, that was hugely inspiring. I think you'll all agree. Thank you, Rian. Thanks for taking the time out of your hectic schedule to be here tonight. And no, hold on, we've got a small gift. There we go. Thank you. So thanks, guys. That's the end of tonight's talk. We've got another one the end of last Wednesday of next month, November. So please do join, and feel free to grab some wine and drinks at the back. And thank you for coming tonight. Really appreciate it. Cheers.
Hi, my name is Leander Toy. I'm from Silicon Cape. The reason why we run these events is to really highlight and showcase what awesome innovations are happening in Cape Town. Tonight was just a really great example of how connections are made through Silicon Cape, and what we're really trying to encourage is more and more people to come and tell us about their stories. So if you are out there and you've got an awesome story and it falls in line with our particular sector of the month, please do get in touch with us. Thank you.